Wendell.
Hey, Tracy.
How are you doing?
Good.
Good. Listen, I'm so excited for you guys to hear our conversation that we had with Amy Porterfield.
Yeah, and she's a well-known name, I think, with most people and that are working online
Yeah.
or things like that. And
hmm
it was a real treat to speak with her.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the primary reason was to talk about her upcoming book.
Yes. Yes. And so, first of all, if you don't know who Amy Porterfield is, she hosts a top rated podcast called Online Marketing Made Easy. She's an ex corporate girl turned CEO of a multi-million dollar business, and she has over 49,000 students that she leads with her team, and she has over 44 million podcast downloads.
Yeah, and she's been featured on Forbes,
Yeah.
Fast Company, Business Insider, Entrepreneurial, and many, many more magazines and publications.
Yeah.
She was in her early 30s when she began her venture into entrepreneurial, her journey there.
So Amy came to a point in her life when her family and friends were really getting pushed to the back. They said, "Hey, you're always working." And that's when she realized that she needed to make a change. And so she took the lead and made those changes.
Hmm. She has a new book, we mentioned it earlier, coming out today.
Yes.
It's called 2 Weeks Notice, where she not only shares her journey, but she also gives easy to understand steps
Yeah.
on how to write your own story and build your own online business. And we'll talk to her about that during our interview and discussion with her in a few minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me read you this quote she has. In an age of collective uncertainty where 73% of employees are considering leaving their jobs, only 20% of people are passionate about their jobs, and the pandemic highlighted the importance of living on purpose. So she is passionate about serving those that she leads. So we hope our conversation with Amy will inspire you to take the lead in your life and with your family.
Yeah, it sure did us, and we really, really enjoyed speaking with her.
Yeah.
She was a real treat and to talk with, and I think you're really going to enjoy this. It's going to be some information here you're going to be able to walk away and say, "Wow, I can do this."
Yeah, absolutely. Well, enjoy. Well, listen, Amy, thanks for joining us on the podcast. We're so excited to have you with us today.
I'm so excited to be here. I know it's going to be a great conversation.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So tell us, you've got something super exciting coming out in February.
I do.
So give us a quick little snippet of what you have waiting for us in February.
So I wrote a book called 2 Weeks Notice, How to Find the Courage to Quit Your Job, Work from Wherever, Make More Money and Change the World. And although that subtitle is a big subtitle, Change the World, I really do believe that more and more people becoming their own bosses, leaving behind what is no longer serving them is an amazing way to create a beautiful life. And I wrote this book because 14 years ago, I quit my last corporate job, which I had been in corporate since the day I left college. And I went out on my own and I had no clue what to do or how I was going to figure this out. So basically, I wrote a guidebook of how to start your own online business because this is the book that I wish I had.
I love this story. I love it because our audience is, I'll say there are kids' ages, they're 20s and 30s. They're really trying to figure life out, right? We do have some who are entrepreneurs. They own their own businesses. And I love this story. And I love the step by step, right? Because now there's so many opportunities, right? I know when we were starting, there was no internet, at least not for us, right? And so, wow, what an opportunity. And I think this is an amazing, not only story, but information for, our listeners to be able to hear and to learn that there are other options, right? And other opportunities. So with that said, speaking to our audience, right? We're talking 20s, 30s, probably young married, possibly. Maybe they're into their career, right? They've finished college. They've got, a few years under their belt. What advice would you give them that they could do to change the trajectory of their future, maybe for not only themselves, but for their family?
Ooh, I love this question. And I know that some people are listening right now that they've already quit their job and they've already started their business.
Mm.
And then, like you said, some people are just getting started in their career and starting to climb that corporate ladder. And what I'll say is that sometimes a 9 to 5 job is perfect for somebody. It's where they are meant to be. They enjoy comfort and security. So that regular paycheck and benefits and just feeling really grounded in what they're doing, that is perfect for them. But I want to say that most of us do enjoy comfort. We do want to feel secure. So when you're starting to think about maybe going out on your own, starting maybe a side hustle that leads to your full-time business being your own boss, there's no way you're going to do that without feeling scared and overwhelmed and confused and craving comfort, but knowing you're absolutely out of your comfort zone. And I think the people that are able to do that, they are very clear on their why, what they ultimately want. So if I go back 14 years when I was still in my corporate job, and for the record, I was good at having a 9 to 5 job. I was good at having a boss. People told me what to do and I exceeded their expectations. I loved getting promotions and awards and getting recognized for all my hard work. As an entrepreneur, that doesn't happen as much versus when you have a boss. But at the same time, I found myself in a moment, and I talk about this in the first chapter of the book, where I was in a room full of entrepreneurs. And my boss at the time was Tony Robbins. And there's a lot of young people listening, so they might not even know who that is, but he's a big motivational speaker, been around forever, is incredible. And Tony Robbins went around and said, tell me about your businesses. And all of these entrepreneurs talked about what they've created, but they talked more about freedom. They worked when they wanted, how they wanted, where they wanted. They were making more money than they ever thought imaginable. They were helping to change lives in big and small ways. And I thought, I don't know what these guys are absolutely doing. Like, I don't know all the details, but I want that. I wanted freedom more than anything in that moment. And I realized I'm going to have to do things differently to get that. So that's where my journey started, but it was a mindset shift I had to make. And I had to be willing to kind of burn it all down and start all over, because I was in my 30s when I did this. And I thought, I'm going to have to let go of the security of a regular paycheck in order to create a business and a life by my own design. Now, fast forward 14 years later, and I have a multi-million-dollar business with a 4-day work week for me and my team, because I built a business that I would want to work in if I were an employee. That's essentially how I did it. So just a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, tagging on to that question and going back to the beginning, I guess.
Yeah.
What strategies for dealing with money anxiety would you give for the young families that want to leave the 9 to 5 and do their own thing?
Yeah.
Yes, because a lot of people listening, like you said, they are young families. They might be getting ready to have babies. They might have babies at home. And there's probably someone thinking, this is irresponsible. I can't I can't leave my job and not provide for my family.
Right.
And so if anyone's listening feeling that kind of anxiousness, they want to leave, but they feel like it's irresponsible. My best advice for money anxiety is this: start a side hustle. Let's get something started. I love baby steps. So what you want to do is think about, where have you gotten results for yourself or for somebody else, whether it be in your business or in your job that you have right now, or maybe in your personal life. Maybe you figured out how to run a marathon in 60 days, where you've been sitting on the couch eating snacks, and in 60 days you ran that marathon, and other people are like, how did you do that? You have gotten results for yourself or others in your life along the way. So start thinking about, how could I turn something like that into a business? Start a side hustle where maybe in the morning or evenings or weekends, you start working on that just to bring in, let's say, $1,000 a month, so that you could prove to yourself, wait a second, I could actually do this. Because I promise you, once you start making a little money with the side hustle, you're going to fast track your exit into becoming your own boss, because you're going to get that freedom fever. You're going to want more of that for sure.
Yeah.
So that's one of the best ways to don't think that you have to quit your job tomorrow and start a business and struggle for the next few years. You can absolutely take baby steps.
Well,
I
that's
love,
good.
yeah, I love that. And I
Yeah.
will say one of the quotes that, and I know I'll have to say it comes at the very end, but I really, really like this, because I know for us, it looked different, right? We didn't have the same opportunities, but we went in with the same mindset, almost 40 years ago when we, made some big adventure changes in our life that changed the trajectory of our family. But you have a quote at the end. It says, lives to change, people to serve, and impact that is needed. So I love the idea of people to serve, because as leaders, as we, we're trying to pull together life and leadership, right? And this is what you're doing. How can you serve, right? And I just love that. I love that aspect.
I think it's so important. If you start a business because you want to make a lot of money, I promise you, when it gets rough, making a lot of money is not enough for you to keep going. It just really isn't. And so if you find it in your heart and genuinely really want to help other people, and you don't need to change their lives in huge ways, it could be small ways that make a big difference for them. But if you really put at the forefront, I want to serve, I want to help other people, and if that's how you start your side hustle or whatever you plan to do, I promise you that does pull you through some of the really rough times. When we make it less about ourselves and more about others, we can literally change the world. And so I do believe serving others has to be a really big part of why you're doing what you're doing.
Wow, it's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I kind of want to make a little right turn here and talk about something else, because I've heard you share this story before, and I remember this day. I remember it like it was yesterday. And it's the story of emails versus social media.
Ooh, let's talk about this. Okay.
I love this.
So one of the unique things about my book, and why I think it's unique, is because I've done a lot of research and couldn't find what I was looking for. So I created the book that I couldn't find, is that the book, there's a lot about changing your mindset to get the courage and confidence to leave behind what's no longer serving you. However, there's a big bulk of value in this book about how to start an online business. Once you leave, how to do it. And so one of the stories I tell in the book, or one of the chapters, is about growing an email list. And a lot of people think, well, wait a second, why do I need an email list? As long as I have social media and I have followers, I'm good. And I talk about the fact that you never want to build a business on rented land. We are renting Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We've seen Elon Musk coming in and buying Twitter, and many people jumping ship because Twitter will never be the same with his leadership, good or bad, however you want to look at it. And so we are at the whims of these other people, and that is not the kind of business you want to create. When you build an email list with names and emails of your subscribers and following, you own that, you control it. And here's what I mean. So about a year ago or so, Facebook and Instagram went black. They were literally down. It was like, is anyone out there? It felt like the world had ended for the day. And so nobody could get on social media. That morning, I just so happened to send out an email about a product that I've had for years and years, just reminding my email subscribers that I have this product. And so we sent out the email, and on the day that social media went down, instantly we made $6,000. By the end of the day, we made $18,000 when all was said and done, with one email to a small portion of my email list. We didn't even send it to everyone. And in that moment, it reminded me, if you want to build a solid foundation for a business, you've got to grow your email list. Even before you start selling, you can be growing an email list. Even when you have a 9-to-5 job, you can start adding value and growing an email list. It's the one thing that most entrepreneurs regret starting too late, including me, but it's the one thing I wish they would all start on day one.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Good. I think if people just open their computers and take a look at their inbox, they'll realize the power of the email, right?
It's so true. And some people will say, yeah, but Amy, I get so many emails, I can't even look at them, or I only look at a few. And I always say, okay, but the few you look at, you are loyal to them. So as a business owner, you want to be the few emails people open up because they're loyal to you. And there's absolutely a way to make that happen. So email marketing is alive and well and converts 4 times better than any social media post you will ever put out there.
Wow.
So it really does matter.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, I do want to say with the audience that we're speaking to right now, I know that, you know, they're looking at life right now, and they're looking at it, you know, probably not as clearly, you know, as further down the road. Like you said,
Right.
you know, you look back at where when you started and where you are today. And if I had you to look back and really look at where you were and where your family was, I mean, just the situation, what your life was like, how was it different then, knowing that you were, you know, in a corporate job, you didn't have all the choices that you wanted to make? Fast forward to today, how is that different for you?
So, a few quick things. First of all, when I was first starting out, I genuinely every day thought, I'm not cut out to do this. I can't be an entrepreneur. Like, the chatter in my head was so negative that sometimes I amaze myself that I even made it 14 years into this, because it was pretty dicey in the beginning. And so, my husband was trying to become a firefighter at the time. We absolutely didn't have the money for me not to be making money. And so it felt very scary in the beginning. The first 2 years were pretty difficult for sure. But again, I kept coming back to my why. I didn't want to work for somebody else. I didn't want to be on someone else's time or dime. And so I had to figure this out. Now, I got to tell you two quick stories. In the book, I talk about going to my best friend's wedding as a 9 to 5 employee. And at the time, I was working on this really big project that needed to get done that weekend of her wedding, and I hadn't finished it yet. And so I go to this wedding. It was in a sleepy little town in Northern California. And that means that Wi-Fi was very sparse. Like, I could not find it. So I was like hiding in the back of cafes, trying to mooch off their Wi-Fi, typing away, hoping that no one from the wedding party saw me. I worked my entire weekend of that wedding secretly, kind of under the radar. The only person I thought knew was my husband, because he saw me like, take me here, take me there, I got to get Wi-Fi kind of thing. So the night of the wedding, I was with my best friend and we were going to do a cheers with champagne. And she looked at me and she said, all you do is work. And I thought she never saw that. I thought I was being secretive. I was such a workaholic because I wanted to impress my bosses and climb the corporate ladder. And I was literally working my life away for somebody else's dream to kind of punctuate that point. So fast forward, so that was in my 9 to 5 years. Fast forward to this weekend, I went to Miami for a very good friend's wedding. I didn't crack my computer once. I got a massage before the wedding, and I slept in the morning after the wedding. My life looks very different now. Now, that's 14 years in, where I have a lifestyle by my own design. I would never be where I am today if I didn't take so many risks and be very scared, but still take action in the first few years. So I know it's cliche, but you have to do it scared. You have to move forward no matter the fact that you might not have all the answers and everything figured out. If you genuinely want to create a future by your own design, you've got to feel all those feelings and do it anyway, because you will blow your mind about what's possible just years ahead of yourself. And that's why I believe in this message of becoming your own boss so very much.
Yeah,
Wow, that's tremendous.
that is. That
Yeah,
is.
that's a good word for us all.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that you worked, you know, you took the time to push through those feelings of being scared and really doing the hard stuff, right? And also, I'm sure there was times, I know for us, you know, we've just failed at things, right?
Ah,
And then
I mean, absolutely. In the first year, I had a $267 launch. The product I was selling was $297. I didn't even cover one unit of a digital course I was selling because of the expenses. And I looked around and thought, everybody else is making hundreds of thousands of dollars. How could I make 267? And I cried for an entire week. But looking back now, you know, hindsight 2020, everybody wasn't making hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right.
We can't believe the shiny storefronts of social media of our peers.
Right.
You only see what they want you to see. That goes for everybody. And so I always tell my students, let's not compare the back end of our business where we know everything going on to the front end of somebody else's where you know nothing about the truth. So what I've done in my business from day one and what I teach my students is to put blinders on. A race and a racehorse has those blinders. They can't look left or right. They can only look forward. we can be inspired by other people, but if it's taking you down, making you feel less than, let's put those blinders on and let's just get to work and do our own thing, because you just never know what's going on in someone else's life, and you don't need to. Your life is what matters right now. So let's lead with servitude. Let's build our communities, and let's run our own races.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really good.
That's so good. Yeah. Really like that. I love that, staying focused,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And it's so easy to get distracted,
Oh,
especially now, right? There's just so much noise out there that takes our attention. And, if we let it, then it's like time passes so quickly, right? And then we look back going, oh, I should have, right? I should
yes.
have done this, or I should have done that.
Oh my goodness. So
yeah.
true. I
Yeah.
was recently making a video earlier today for social media, and the video was talking about how to choose an exit date when you're ready to leave your 9-to-5 job or leave behind something that's no longer serving you. Some people have built businesses that aren't working and they need to change their business model. That's another exit you might need to make. And so I was talking about the fact that you have to ask yourself some questions on coming up with this exit date. And one of the questions was, how long are you willing to wait to create the life you know that you want? Like, how long are you going to wait? So some people might say, okay, I'm going to quit my job in 2 years. And I'll say, okay, are you really willing to wait 2 years to start building a life that you absolutely know you deserve? It's one thing to wait 6 months, maybe even a year, but anything over that, you literally are living in fear because it's so scary to quit.
Yeah.
I remember when I left my last final 9-to-5 job, and I was driving out of the San Diego offices, and the song by the Beatles, Here Comes the Sun, came on the radio. And I thought, this is it. It's going to be rainbow and roses from here on out, because this song was my sign. It was the most difficult year of my life after
Wow.
that. It wasn't rainbow and roses.
Right.
But I always tease that the worst day as an entrepreneur, like I'm sure you both have had really hard days as entrepreneurs, right? Like the worst days that we can go back and think of are still better than the best day in your 9-to-5 job.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because you're
Absolutely.
free.
Absolutely.
You are calling the shots. You are seeing
Yeah.
what you're made of. And if you ever really want to grow, if you really want to stretch yourself, become an entrepreneur, because it's the ultimate
Yeah.
path in personal development in like the best and worst ways possible. So,
Right.
but all
Right.
worth it for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I tell a number of our clients, I said, look, you're going through a struggle right now, and it feels hard and it hurts and it's terrible. But remember, you're not going through this only for you. You're going through it for someone else, because you need to help someone else that's going through it later on down the road.
Yeah.
And we appreciate, what you're doing, because I'm sure that you've walked through a lot of those struggles, and
Oh,
now you're
geez.
helping hundreds of thousands, if not many more than that.
Yeah.
You know,
people.
I appreciate you saying so. And that's such a great lesson for people to hear right now. When I was going through it in the first few years that were the toughest, I never thought like one day I can teach other people how not to go through this. One day I can tell my story of overcoming this. It never entered my mind. And I think if it did, it would have made it more bearable. Like there's something even bigger than me in this.
Right.
So anyone who just heard that, please take that to heart, because it does make the hard days a little easier. I can only imagine.
Yeah. Wow.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, Amy, thank you so much for your time. And I just want to give a quick plug, because I want our listeners to please go out, and if you are, even an inkling in your brain says, man, that is so interesting, I'm really interested, please go out and pick up a copy of
Or pre-order.
or
right
pre-order.
now.
2 weeks notice.
Thank you.
So it comes out on February 21st, 2023. And you will not be disappointed.
it's
Honestly. Yeah. I love the life lessons that are in there, because it's so relatable. And yet in that, the simple step-by-step how-to that you can just follow through, and it's
Very actionable.
yes, absolutely.
Thank you. That's a huge compliment. I wanted it to feel as someone could sink their teeth into it and actually get to work while they're
Yes.
being inspired to keep moving forward. So thank you for
Absolutely.
that.
Yes.
I think you two are wonderful. I love that you've built a business together. I love that you do this. I wish my husband and I think we'd be on a road to divorce if we did. So when I see something like this, I think it's beautiful. So when I was asked to be on your show, I was very honored. So thank you so much
Well,
for
thank
having
you.
me and talking about my book. It means the world to me.
Well, it means the world
Absolutely.
to us.
Yes, yes. And
So
it's
thank you.
definitely impacted us. So thank you so much. We
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Thank you, my friends. Take
All right.
care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, we hope you enjoyed our conversation with Amy, and you can find her at amyporterfield.com and on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. You can also find her podcast, Online Marketing Made Easy, on most any platform.
And please check out her new book, 2 Weeks Notice. We've already read it.
Yes.
And
yes.
it's worth probably 2 or 3 times what you'd pay for through Amazon or wherever you want to pick that up.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a tremendous read and a lot of helpful information that I think you're really, really going to enjoy.
Yes.
So thanks again. And again, thank you to Amy for speaking with us for a little bit.
Yeah.
And check her book out.
Yes. Enjoy.